Women just don't have the knack for this kind of thing, Robert declared, leaning back in his chair, hands clasped behind his head as if he just dropped a bombshell of wisdom. It's nothing personal, Emily. Finance is a cutthroat world and Jake's the obvious pick for this gig. I sat across the table, my jaw clenching as I glared at the spreadsheet I'd spent hours perfecting. My fingers twitched, itching to wad up the pages and hurl them across the room, but I forced myself to stay cool. Robert, I said, my voice steady as steel, I've been handling multi-million-dollar portfolios for 6 years straight. My firm's returns have consistently ranked top 5 in the region. He waved me off like I was a kid bragging about a lemonade stand. I'm sure you're a star over there, but this is family. We need someone who gets our unique priorities. And Jake's got that in spades. Beside him, Jake smirked like he just hit the jackpot. At 24, fresh out of business school, the guy couldn't even manage his own checking account, let alone a family fortune. But he was Robert's flesh and blood son apparently that made him a Wall Street wizard overnight. I turned to Jake, keeping my tone even. So Jake, what's your big plan for the portfolio? He blinked, thrown off guard. Oh well, he fumbled, I figured I'd jump into some high-growth tech stocks, catch the wave. Robert nodded like Jake had just reinvented the wheel. Exactly. Bold moves. That's what this portfolio needs. My stomach twisted. Bold moves? That was their master plan? I'd spent a decade mastering risk, crafting balanced strategies and decoding market shifts, only to be sidelined because I didn't fit their boys' club mold. I'm Emily. And I've been clawing my way up in finance since day one, proving myself in a world that loves to underestimate me. I joined Robert's family at 12 when my mom remarried. Back then, he'd been tough but fair, treating Jake and me as equals until now. Over the years, his favoritism toward Jake had crept in, and tonight, it hit me like a freight train. This wasn't just some side hustle. The family portfolio was a legacy, years in the making, meant to secure our future. I'd poured my soul into a rock-solid plan to grow it safely. But Robert's biases blinded him to everything I'd built. Driving home, my mind churned with frustration. It's not personal, he'd said. Bullshit, it felt as personal as it gets. I'd battled tooth and nail to shine in a male-dominated field, only to have my own stepfather shove me aside for a rookie with zero chops. When I walked in, my husband, Tom, was in the kitchen, slicing carrots for dinner. He grinned. How'd it go? I dumped my bag on the counter with a sigh. Total disaster. Robert handed the portfolio to Jake. Says women can't handle finance. Tom's face darkened as he set down the knife. He said that. Word for word, I replied, grabbing a glass of water. And Jake just sat there, grinning like he's the next Warren Buffett. Tom shook his head. That's insane. You've been killing it for years. Jake probably can't even spell dividend. Exactly, I snapped, my voice rising. But to Robert, I'm the gamble. And Jake's the golden boy. Numbers be damned. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, I made a choice. I was done begging Robert to see me. I'd let my work scream the truth instead. My firm's portfolio was already climbing, and I was pitching a game-changing project that could rocket my team to the top. If Robert wanted to crown Jake the family genius, fine. But in a year, when the dust settled, I'd make damn sure my results buried his delusions. For weeks, I tried to tune out the portfolio drama. It wasn't easy. Every time Jake posted a cryptic, killing it in finance, update online, or Robert bragged about Jake's vision, my blood boiled. But I stayed laser-focused at work. I'd just landed a high-profile client portfolio and threw everything into it. Late nights, endless trend analysis, bulletproof projections. It was grueling but electric. One evening, as we burned the midnight oil, my mentor, Claire, leaned against my desk. You're going all out on this, huh? I smirked. Feels personal. She arched a brow. The client. No, I said, shaking my head. My stepdad passed me over for the family portfolio. Gave it to my stepbrother. Said women don't cut it in finance. Claire's jaw dropped. He said that. Yep, I muttered. The sting's still fresh. So now I'm out to prove him dead wrong. Meanwhile, Jake's genius started cracking. At family dinners, Robert's proud updates turned vague. It's a long game, he mumbled one night when I asked how the portfolio was doing. Long game. I echoed, eyebrow raised. That's code for it's tanking, right? What's Jake even buying? Robert bristled. None of your business, Emily. Jake's got it handled. I let it slide, but inside, I smirked. I'd seen this movie before, cocky newbies chasing shiny stocks, blind to the crash ahead. It was only a matter of time. At work, my star was rising. The portfolio I managed crushed expectations, clients raved, and word spread fast. Soon, I was tapped to present my strategy at a regional finance conference, a career-defining shot. Claire was over the moon. "This is your moment," she said. "Own it." The night before, practicing in front of the mirror, I thought about Robert and Jake. Part of me wanted to rub the invite in their faces, but I held back. This wasn't about them, it was about proving I belonged. Months later, the gap between Jake's flops and my wins was glaring. While my firm's portfolio soared, Robert's hints about Jake's challenges grew darker. At one dinner, he sighed over pie. "Rough quarter. Jake's taken some hits." I kept my face blank. "Hits? Like what?" He squirmed. "Nothing dire. Just setbacks." Jake piped up, defensive. "It's a brutal market. No one's winning big." I couldn't resist. "Not true. Plenty of portfolios are thriving if they're managed right." The room went dead quiet, Robert's glare hot enough to melt steel. "Not everyone's got your fancy clients." "Emily," he snapped. "Family stuff's different." I nodded, biting my tongue. Let them cling to their excuses. My track record didn't need a defense. By the 1-year mark, the truth was brutal. Jake's portfolio was a mess. Reckless bets had gutted it. Meanwhile, my firm's results hit industry headlines, and I was named a top analyst in the region. The cherry on top? An invite to an awards gala for innovative portfolio management. Standing on stage, accepting the plaque, I pictured Robert and Jake. They weren't there, but I knew they'd hear about it. Sure enough. 2 weeks later, Robert called. "Emily," he said, his voice tight, "saw your name in the Financial Times." "Congrats." "Thanks," I replied, cool as ice. "Didn't realize your firm was doing that well. Guess I underestimated you." "You did," I said flatly. "Appreciate you saying it, though." The real shock came later. Tom called me at work, laughing. "You won't believe this, Robert's glued to the TV. Your firm's on Market Watch Live. They just name-dropped you." I froze. "What did they say?" "Called you a top portfolio manager in the region." Robert's been mute for 20 minutes. Pride surged through me. For months I'd stacked wins Robert swore I couldn't pull off, and now it was blasting across national TV. Next day, Robert called again. Subdued. "Saw Market Watch last night. Didn't know your firm was that big a deal." "We've been grinding," I said, neutral. He sighed. "I misjudged you, Emily. Your results, they're damn impressive." I leaned back, savoring it. "Thanks. It's about smart calls, not headlines. Been doing that for years." He paused. "Can you swing by this weekend? I'd like to talk." "Saturday." The vibe at Robert's was off. No bluster, no Jake. He handed me a folder. "Latest portfolio numbers. Thought you'd want to look." I flipped it open, losses worse than I'd guessed. High-risk bets had torched huge chunks. "Jake said it's just the market," Robert muttered. "But after your results, I'm not so sure." "It's not the market," I said carefully. "It's the choices. Portfolios need strategy, not just guts." He nodded, grim. "Thought I was giving Jake a shot to shine. Turns out I underrated you and overrated him." Then quietly, "I owe you an apology, Emily. I let my blind spots screw this up. You deserved better." His regret hit me hard. For years he'd dismissed me, and now it was laid bare. "Thanks," I said, softer. "But it's not just me, it's what's best for the family. If you want this portfolio back, we've got work to do." He nodded. "I'd like you to take it over. If you're up for it." I spent an hour breaking down my fix, stabilizing, rebuilding. Robert listened, really listened, a respect in his eyes I'd never seen. When I finished, he sighed. "You didn't have to help after how I acted. Says a lot about you." I smiled. "It's not about settling scores. It's about doing it right." After that, things shifted. Robert's apology wasn't a magic wand, but it cracked the wall between us. At the next family dinner, he said, casual as ever, Emily steering the portfolio back on track. "Should have listened sooner." Jake squirmed, silent, resentment flickering. I could have gloated, but I didn't. This was bigger than him. Later, Robert pulled me aside. "I was wrong to doubt you. You've got my trust now." That hit deep. I'd fought so long to be seen, not as the stepkid, not as a woman, but as me. "Thanks," I said. "No grudges." Just forward. Over months, I rebuilt the portfolio, diverse, steady. Climbing. Robert stayed hands-off, asking smart questions, praising gains. One night, over reports he said, thought I knew it all. You proved me wrong. You've saved us. I grinned. Never too late to figure it out. My career soared, 2 new clients, bigger stakes. At home, Robert became more than a stepdad. He became a supporter. The fight to prove myself had forged me. But now it wasn't about their doubts, it was about my certainty. Walking out of his house that night, I felt peace. The road ahead wasn't set, but I'd claimed my spot, in the family and beyond.